Hey, hello everybody. I'm Jeff with eBay Addicts, and today I got a returning guest here with me, Zach from Utah Bought and Gone. How are you doing today, Zach?
Fantastic, man. How you doing?
All right, awesome, awesome. So today's title of our video is going to be how Utah Bought and Gone went from zero to 250K with his investment portfolio. So we're going to catch up with Zach, kind of talk a little bit about how his journey of how he went from working his regular 9 to 5 job to becoming a full-time reseller, and how he started out at zero, like everybody starts at zero, and kind of built his investment account through rental properties and investing in the stock market and able to grow his account. So just to give you guys a quick disclaimer, we're not financial advisors and we're not accountants. I'm just talking to Zach a little bit about his journey. So don't say, hey, I saw Zach on this YouTube video and I did what he told me to do and I lost $10,000. Like, we're not financial advisors. We're not tax accountants. I'm just talking to Zach about his journey of what works for him. So, a lot of guys that are struggling, or maybe you're trying to figure out ways to make money outside the box, or maybe you want to think of other ideas of ways that you can invest money and you just don't know how to get started. I'm going to have all of Zach's links down below for YouTube and Instagram. So go ahead and introduce yourself real quick, Zach, in case people don't know who you are. Tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Okay, well, my name is Zach. I'm out here in Utah. My handle is Utahn Bought and Gone. Been full-time reseller for almost a year. January is when I quit my 9 to 5. Married to my beautiful wife. We just had a newborn, and I also have an older child. He just barely turned 13. You can see the streamers behind me. We just had his birthday party. But yeah, I mean, been super passionate about eBay for like probably the past 15 years, almost 15 years about. And started getting into it because I had my son super young and I needed to make money and I was too young to work. And so ended up getting into eBay and grew a passion for it, and then slowly just started doing it more and more, and decided to go full time with it. So super happy about where I'm at in my life right now.
Yeah, and so Zach had actually you're a full time reseller now. You full time resell on eBay and also on Amazon as well. So kind of talk a little bit about your journey, was because I'm sure you were just like everybody else working a regular 9 to 5 job. Kind of tell me a little bit about how you transitioned from working your 9 to 5 job to kind of becoming a full time reseller. Talk a little bit about that. We've just had this weird movement lately in the past, I don't know, 6 months or past year, ever since that lockdown, where there's so many people that have either, worked for a company and then the company went out of business and they lost their job, or maybe they put their 2 weeks notice in and quit their job. And they're like, man, there's got to be a better way that I can make money besides punching a time clock every week. So talk a little bit about what your journey was like for you.
Well, it all started in 2019. I got super obsessed with Dave Ramsey. And he always talks about a side hustle, and I always did eBay here and there. But I decided January 2019 I was going to go at it, like, as hard as I could, like 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, just try to bust it out, just to try to make 2 or 3 grand extra a month. And COVID hit, and I was enjoying eBay and everything, but my job was kind of starting to it seemed like they started like laying people off more and more, and it got to the point where I was like, I don't know if I want to come to my job and worry about getting canned the same day. Like, it was super stressful. So we tackled all our debt, and I started Amazon and started selling used books. That's all I've done on there is used books. I've done a few, maybe 5, 10 other different random items, but 99% of it is books. And decided, as soon as we closed on this house that we're at right now, I was going to put my, my notice in and then rent out my old place. So I could create another, stream of income. So we cash flow about $1,200 on our rental property, and so $1,250, and then decided to do eBay full time, and then Amazon's my part-time job because I always want to keep like a side hustle. So I just love Amazon because it's so easy to find these books, and end up finding a good source. I found someone that actually is local that sells me pallets of books. It's a lot of work, but it's nice because he brings it to my house. My wife helps me, and we just bust it out, and then it pretty much pays our mortgage with this book stream income. So it's super nice. So it's just an extra like $2 grand a month doing used books on Amazon. So super happy about all that. But yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at.
All right. So I'm going to hit the rewind button real quick. First of all, tell people what your occupation was, what your 9 to 5 job was that you actually left to become a full-time reseller. Like, what was a little bit more of your backlog, your back history of what you were doing before you became a full-time reseller?
Yeah, it was actually a sales job. So my job was pretty much to find hospitals that were shorthanded in doctors. I worked with medical oncologists in general, but My job was to call the cancer centers across the U.S., and that's what I was doing, making phone calls all day, every day, and then would find the hospitals that were shorthanded, and then I'd have teammates on my team that would help me find doctors to fill that position, and then that was my job. That's what I did for about 2.5 years.
Right. Yeah. And so eventually after a while, talk to me a little bit about how you transitioned from that to becoming a full-time reseller. Like, there were some things you did. Maybe you got out of debt because you mentioned Dave Ramsey. I'm sure you maybe, paid off your credit card bills, paid your car note off, got out of debt. If you had any student loan debt or any of this stuff, got that stuff taken care of. And I'm sure you had an emergency fund set aside. So I'm sure you had things in place before you were just like, oh, I'm going to make the jump and leave my full-time job to be a full-time reseller. Talk to me a little bit about what that journey was like for you.
Yeah. We probably had about 50 grand in debt, roughly. I had my truck. I had about 18 grand on that. I had my wife's Jeep that was about 25K. And then we had a credit card that had like 4K on it or something like that. But just tackled the credit card, first, just like Dave Ramsey teaches, the snowball effect. You tackle the smaller debt first. Don't worry about the interest rate, and it kind of keeps you motivated and driven. So I did the credit card, and then we busted out the truck, and then the last was the Jeep, and we ended up, I think we did it like a couple months before I ended up quitting or something like that. But when you only have a mortgage and you have no debt, and at the time I was living at my other place, my mortgage was about $1,750 a month. And that was our only bill besides utilities. And so it was super nice. And then ended up moving, but the cash flow from the rental property pretty much, it covers more than half our mortgage here. So really our mortgage payment went down. So we pay $2,350 here, but we make $1,250 there. So our mortgage is only like $1,100 a month, and we have no debt.
Right. And so Zach, tell people in the audience how old you are.
I just turned 29 a few months ago.
All right, cool. So the reason why I'm bringing this up, guys, because, a lot of people have these preconceived notions where it's like, man, he had some rich uncle that passed away that left him a bunch of money, or, he had a bunch of money saved up in this investment or retirement account because he's 60, 70, 80 years old. Like, Zach's not even 30 years old yet. So he's out here just doing it just with hustle and hard work. And you guys can do the same thing that he's doing. And so if you want to learn ways where you can make money outside the box besides working your full 9-to-5 job, you can go follow Zach. All the links are going to be down below. And I wanted to kind of get into a little bit more of the title of our video is how Zach went from 0 to 250K through investments. So Zach, you have one rental property, but I wanted to talk real quickly about your strategy with investing, because if somebody is in a situation, there's a large population, I'm not going to put a number on it, maybe 25, 30% of the population that have zero set aside for the retirement, zero set aside for investing. And there's a lot of people, if you guys don't know, I think probably 50% of the country makes less than $35,000 a year from working their 9-to-5 job. So it's hard to have money left over to invest when you're making $600 a week on your paycheck. There's just not enough money left over at the end of the month to have money to go and invest. Yep. So I want to talk a little bit about what your journey was like. If somebody is at zero right now, or maybe they don't have a lot of money, it went through investing. Talk a little bit about what your journey was like. You got out of debt, right?
Yep.
And then you had some money set aside for emergency fund. And then I'm sure you were able to get to the point where you're able to leave your full-time job to become the full-time reseller, to resell on eBay and Amazon. But talk to me about what your journey was like through investing through the stock market to kind of grow your wealth or grow your money that way.
Yeah. I actually started very beginning. I started investing at 19. I got a pretty good job at Nabisco. I don't know if they make Oreos. I worked there for about 6 years, just under 6 years. And at the time they had a 401k, and I had no idea what that was. Like, I was 19, I didn't care, but my dad was like, hey, they match, they match to a certain percentage. So if you guys have 401ks and you get a match at work, you're passing up on free money. So my dad helped me sign up for a 401k. And I didn't even notice it because I worked there for 6 years, and I never even looked at the account because it just comes out every time I got paid. And by the time I quit, I think I had like 32 grand in there, and I was 25 roughly. And I had no idea. And I didn't invest for like 2 more years because I got another job. I didn't have a 401k, so I didn't do any investing until I was like 27. And ended up landing a job at my, where I worked the last 2.5 years, my previous 9-to-5, and started getting obsessed with Dave Ramsey. So I started putting as much as I could into my 401k. I opened up a Roth IRA. If you guys have a Roth IRA, you guys know it grows tax-free. That's like the best benefit ever. You can only put up $6,000 per year, but it grows tax-free. So if your account grows to $1 million and you want to pull out money when you're 60 years old, you don't have to pay any taxes. But like with a 401k, you have to pay taxes on. And so that's kind of, a benefit. So I started my Roth IRA when I was probably 27, and started maxing it out. So I put in $6,000 every year, and then opened up my wife's Roth IRA about a year ago and been maxing that one out. And then she's got a 401k. We've been hitting that match as well. I mean, it's just a snowball effect. Like, you just got to put money in there, and it helps so much when you don't have any debt, right? Like, you can put more money in there. So like, any advice from me, I would say tackle that bad debt. Even if you got those student loans that are like, a small interest rate, get those done, get those out of your way, and then start investing. It helps a lot because we have no debt right now. And so like, I'm putting about $2,000 a month into investments right now because I don't have where else to put the money. Like, I could put it in savings, but I'm not going to make any money, right? So I'm putting it into my Roth IRA every month, and I'm putting it into my SEP IRA. And so if you guys don't know what a SEP IRA, it's like a self-employed 401k. And I have a couple grand in there, whatever, because I just started it last year. But just like, I have all this extra money because I have no debt. So I mean, it just slowly builds. And then compound interest. I don't know if you've ever messed with a compound interest calculator. That thing is amazing. That'll get you motivated like crazy. I have it on my phone because I look at it all the time, and I always show my boy, my 13-year-old, because I'm like, hey, if you put $20, $100 in there and let it sit for 40 years, this is what it will turn into, and stuff like that. And I think that little calculator keeps me so motivated because if right now I have 220 grand invested in different accounts, but if I don't invest another dime until I'm 60, that's going to be over $4 million in compound interest. Like, it's insane what your money can grow into. And not alone the equity I have in my house and my rental property. I mean, my net worth is just growing like crazy. And so I think once you get to that point, and that compound interest calculator it just starts blowing up. So you got to start somewhere. I mean, if you don't have a 401k at work, open up your Roth IRA and start putting that $6,000 in every year. I mean, it's only $500 a month, but it will go a long way if you do it over a certain amount of time. So.
Yeah, it's funny what would happen if you just don't touch the money and you leave it alone and you let the money grow. It's kind of like, instead of you working for your money, you have your money start working for you. Mm-hmm. So Zach, give us like 3 pieces of advice to help somebody out. I know you mentioned getting out of debt. I know you mentioned if you have a Roth IRA, maybe you should go ahead and max it out, because if something does happen, if you need it for whatever reason, you have an emergency and you need to access the money in the Roth IRA, you can make a withdrawal just like you would out of your checking or savings account. And the bank's not going to pay you nothing right now to have money just sitting in a savings account. So you might as well go ahead and do that. So talk about that. What would be your top 3 tips or piece of advice to help somebody out, Zach?
Yeah. I mean, this is how I feel. So you guys don't have to do this, but if you put your money in a savings account, you get like 0.01%, money back. And with inflation, you're pretty much losing money having that money sit there. So if you have a large amount of money in savings account, put that in some kind of a Roth IRA, or if you can a SEP IRA, but something, because that money you're just losing money over time. But yeah, I would say the first thing is, if you can, tackle that debt, that bad debt. You got your credit cards, you got your car payments and your student debt. Like, you don't need that. And if something happens, some major, catastrophe happened in your life, and you can't afford to make those payments, it's going to cause a lot of stress. It's amazing how much, I have little to no stress because I have so many little bills right now. I just have my utilities and my mortgage. So tackle that debt. If you have the match at your 401k at your work, get that match minimum, even if it's 3%. Some people, get up to 6%, which is crazy. That's a ton of money that you could be getting for free. So hit that match with your 401k, and then open up that Roth IRA. Like I said earlier, even if you don't max it out every year, put some money in there. It grows tax-free. So that's the best benefit. You don't have to pay taxes when you pull it out in 30 years, 10 years, however old you are. So,
all right, guys, we're trying to keep this video between 10 to 15 minutes long. So all the links are going to be down below. If you want to go by and follow Zach, if you want to follow him on YouTube and Instagram, go by and pick his brain, ask him questions. That's why I dropped his Instagram link there. So you can DM him, ask him questions, and pick his brain. Give us your final thoughts, Zach, and then we'll let you go, buddy.
If you guys have any questions, reach out to me through Instagram. I love talking about this stuff, so I'm here if you need me.
Okay, awesome. Yep, go ahead and follow our guest. And all the links are going to be down below. Till then, I will see you guys in the next video. You guys have a great day. We'll catch you later. Bye, guys.